A girl is tied up, alone, in a dark basement. She has been given only crackers to eat for several days, and crackers come with beatings. The 150 wounds around her body, including cuts, bruises, and burns, are evidence of the last 4 months she's endured. Wounds suffered not only from the cruel hand of her caretaker, but also at the hands of the caretaker's children and several neighborhood children. This is the tragic story of Sylvia Likens, a 16-year-old girl who came to know all too well just how cruel people can become.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
Okay.
Three gays walk into a bar.
Three
gays walk into a bar.
Three gays walk into a bar. just a sentient butt.
Butt air is different than air butt.
Anyways,
okay.
hi.
Oh yeah, this is the show. Three gays.
Yeah,
walk
welcome
into a bar.
to Three Gays Walk into a Bar.
Don't clack the...
Best show on earth. You can clack the fan all you want. I'm coming around on the fan.
Since it's gay, I really want to find my big fan.
Yeah.
My fucking huge one that just...
I'm coming around on the fan, but I will say when you surprise me with a super loud clack, if I don't see it coming, then it's almost like a dog bark. It's like just a loud noise
that was
out of
an
nowhere.
Interesting sound.
That's just what I feel. I just get all timid and
I feel like me and Tristan look like two different types of douche.
Yeah. I'm going for douche chic tonight.
I'm just like boyfriend douche, you know? Like
You are a little like boyfriend douche.
And I'm just here.
you exist. You coexist with the douches.
Yeah. Douche chic tonight, which is why I got these slick shades.
Should I put on a backwards hat?
Nah. I mean, if you want.
Well,
okay. So he's gonna put on a backwards hat, and I guess I'll just get started with my walk into a bar this week because PJ already knows what it is. Basically. While my attire tonight is of the douche-like variety, there is one aspect of my attire that is not douche-like.
There we go.
And that is my epic, truly amazing...
Oh God!
Now PJ's channeling the douche.
now I'm epic douchebag.
It's officially the douchiest show on earth.
Yeah.
Right
Three
behind
douches walk into a bar.
Right behind Impulsive, this is the douchiest podcast. And the Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh my fucking God! Don't even get me started on Joe Rogan.
The shit he's been saying lately. Oh my fucking God.
Not just lately, sweetheart.
Literally since the beginning.
I don't hate Joe Rogan. I really don't have anything against Joe Rogan. I used to watch his show often.
I hate him.
Really, his show is one, in my opinion, that's only as good as the guest. And if it's a guest that I'm not really interested in, also he has a lot of repeat guests that are kind of boring sometimes. And he often has his comedian friends, and it just kind of feels like a circle jerk where they just talk about comedy the whole time that no one can ever relate to because no one else does stand up. So we're just hearing comedians just basically circle jerk each other.
Yeah.
Well,
I feel like that's what he's doing all the time, regardless.
If he has he does often have very insightful, intelligent people on. Neil deGrasse Tyson was on the show, even though that was just kind of a fucking disaster because Tyson could not stop interrupting Joe, and you could see Joe just getting visibly annoyed. But he's had some really insightful people on his show. It's just lately, the shit he's been saying about masks and vaccines and fuck
women.
What about women?
Just in general, he he talked about how men can never talk, they can't talk about anything anymore, And it was ironic because he's literally like
A man
a
paid to
man who's paid to do a podcast.
tens of
And he
millions of dollars
He
to
literally
say his mind.
did a 3-hour podcast.
Are like is that the recent thing that you're talking about?
Yeah.
That we're both thinking about?
Yeah.
Well, basically, for a little more context, he was saying it wasn't just men. He was specifying white men around like how sensitive the culture is getting, and like a liberal agenda and all that. He didn't use those words, but that's the vibe.
Yeah.
And he said eventually it's going to get around to where white men won't be able to speak, and eventually white men won't be able to go outside.
Oh no.
It will eventually get to straight white men are not allowed to talk. It will be you're not allowed to go outside.
Someone think about the men.
Oh no!
Someone think about the white men.
I should say straight white men because I don't figure he's too concerned for me and PJ over here. Like, because we're probably like part of the problem.
Cisgendered heterosexual men.
So he means like straight white men, which sure, dude. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's the case.
It's really not. They have like the tallest soapbox.
I find now I'm not gonna say that Joe Rogan's a Republican because I don't want to like.
No, he's just crazy.
He's honestly kind of all over the place with his political views. He takes a bit here, a bit there. Like I've heard him say a lot of very liberal things.
I feel like it's just like he wants to stay relevant, so he'll like literally say anything that anyone wants to hear.
I don't know. He's being very incendiary and like on the place where the cultural okay, sorry, I'm wording this weird. The place that is thought to be an example of how the culture thinks, Twitter, fucking hates Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Because Twitter is like massively left leaning.
Yeah.
But
it's
any hoops. I'm saying that
like there's a reason.
I'm sorry, this is a derail.
Yeah.
But I am saying that that right leaning people tend to have like this victimization complex about straight white men in particular. Like straight white men are the target. It's because Me Too happened, and a lot of the perpetrators, in fact, a startling amount of the perpetrators were straight white men, and that's when liberals started to be like, oh, maybe there's a pattern here, maybe there's a problem. And most of the time when somebody is like canceled or whatever in this cancel culture that we have going on, people seem to think that it's only straight white men that seem to fall prey to this sort of like to this outrage culture that we have going on. And Joe Rogan don't like that. I don't like. I think that there is what I think personally is that there is an amount of like cancel culture happening, but the problem, as these people see it, is fucking vastly overblown.
Yeah.
It'd be really hard to actually like literally cancel someone.
Anyways, he can fuck
Whatever.
off. And we can
Enough about that.
walk into a bar.
He can go walk into a
Just
bar.
all walk into a bar because of Joe Rogan.
Literally.
Hell yeah. So that was mine. Okay, sorry. Wait, I don't think I even said it. Their mother crocheted me. Sorry for that massive derail. Crocheted me this amazing, sweet, supple, juicy bow tie.
Oh God.
Supple and juicy.
Supple and juicy. And this
describe
amazing
bow tie that way.
piece of stitchery shows the world, nay, the universe, one thing, and that this is a statement piece, and whoever wears this piece is the shit.
Everybody
Is
go like
very-
her Facebook page. Kathy's Crafty Corner.
She knitted this for me. She may knit me a little Oscar Wilde to put in this jail thing here that we found at Goodwill, and that would be easily like the best thing I could ever imagine. Is having a little Oscar Wilde doll, custom made, put in this little jail.
She just made me like this witch gnome.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
So awesome.
Yeah,
Oh.
she posted it on Facebook. Yeah.
She
really
she
cute.
said that she was going to make that but
she
so
told us the
I
last
didn't realize
time
she already
we saw her that
did.
she was going to.
Cool. Like I really want to see
I
pictures of
sent
that.
her like this crochet.
I'll put pictures up.
Like bralette that's like rainbow colored, and I was like, Mom, please make this for me.
That's fucking
I
awesome.
want to wear it for Pride. If
She's
she
the
makes
best,
it.
dude. She's the best. It was a gift for my birthday. I got a lot of great gifts. My grandmother got me a lot of books that were on my Amazon wish list. Thank you to my grandmother. I'm going to very, very much enjoy those. And Kathy also got me some books and knitted me these great, great bow ties and a bunny, a stuffed animal bunny. PJ, you actually, it'll be easier for you to, like, it's right by my bed if you want to go grab it. Yeah, he's just going all over the place this episode. But yeah, she knits great things. And this little guy's name is already Oscar, but if it could be an actual Oscar Wilde in there,
the bunny.
that'd be dope.
Isn't
that so cute?
She also made a bow tie for the bunny to match one of his bow ties.
The bunny has a bow tie, and
So
the
cute.
ears are.
Oh.
I love how the ears are bent, and it's so soft. It is so soft. It's great. I love it. It's a great
It's
gift.
fine.
But
Put it by you.
sure.
There we go.
But I think I've hogged enough camera time. Who wants to go next?
The reason I have two reasons why I walk into a bar this week.
Two? I'm sorry, you can't do that. It can only be one.
I don't give a fuck.
Oh, okay.
This is my show now.
I'm taking over.
It's
Yeah.
only going to be one gay owns the bar.
One gay.
And there's two other gay patrons.
One gay is just pouring shots. So
one gay boss.
I guess I'll start off. Well, no, they're both negative. The one's just sad, and the other one's gonna give you gay rage. All right.
Okay.
I already have enough gay rage.
Is the sadness gay sadness? Or is
No,
it just general
It's
sadness?
heterosexual sadness.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, okay, so whenever I was seeing my boyfriend this past weekend, I told him that I had to leave, and he was like, already? Why? And I was like, I'm sorry. So I just sat on his lap for another 30 minutes.
No.
I fucking hit the microphone.
And for that makes me want to shakily open a bottle and fucking just chug it.
Like that one.
Like Jim Lee.
Or like Rick and Morty's mom, not Rick and Morty's mom, Morty's mom, when she's opened up that bottle of wine, she's like shaking it into that wine glass, and it's just
yes.
making a mess.
Literally me.
Yeah, that is. I am that mom.
Yeah.
That is me.
I'm
I
that-
relate to her 100%.
I'm that aunt, and yeah. But my second reason is I found out today that the owner of Chick-fil-A, here we go again.
Uh-oh.
The owner of Chick-fil-A backs inequality for races.
What?
Here, let me pull up the article really quick.
Man, now I'm not going to be able to eat
Not-
Chick-fil-A sauce.
I know. Not only are they against not only are they against the gays, but they're also against equality. All right.
Like,
so
that's just going to put a bad taste in my mouth when I eat Chick-fil-A sauce now.
Chick-fil-A's owner is newly connected to Anti-Equality Act donations.
What the fuck are they doing?
So they're like supporting, like
They just
they're
lost.
literally donating to racists.
Not only did they just lose all of their gay patrons, but they just lost all of their
Now,
ethnic
like,
patrons
Honestly,
as well.
cancel Chick-fil-A.
Who specifically are they donating to?
They're just I can pull up the article really quick.
Okay.
The start of the article is fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 17 times, and what is actually wrong with me?
Good title.
I know. It's like what the fuck else is fucking Chick-fil-A gonna do at this point?
Like, I don't even.
I mean, it's
Makes me
official.
want
We're
to tell
done.
Heath to return the fucking Chick-fil-A
Oh my
sauce.
God.
It's official. We're done buying the sauce.
Well, we were already done buying the sauce.
Okay. Well,
Heath is
now it's
just our
official.
supplier.
Official. No, we're done. I don't want to even eat the sauce.
Yeah, I know. Honey Q sauce from Hardee's tastes exactly the same. And
honestly, honey Q sauce is the shit.
Honey Q sauce is fucking amazing.
Oh my god. Maya Angelou famously said,
Angelo?
Yeah. Maya Angelou. Famously said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And then the article follows, I don't go to Red Lobster looking for Italian food, and I don't go to Chick-fil-A looking for a moral high ground.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Damn.
I mean, it just says that a series of Christian billionaires have donated large amounts of money to an organization that is spearheading the derailment of the Equality Act. The organization is called the National Christian Charitable Foundation, and its structure allows for donors to have a hefty say in where their funds go. That say counts as a suggestion, according to the report, but when there is that much money involved, suggestions have a lot of power.
But just staring directly at the camera.
The proposed act, which passed the House of Representatives with a bipartisan majority and is supported by 2/3 of Americans, would protect lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people from discrimination at a federal level.
All right. Chick-fil-A's fucking over.
Cancel Chick-fil-A. Stop buying their fucking sauce. I know
like,
it's good,
what
but
is the
we
point?
can make it.
You're a restaurant. Just stop donating to shitty fucking people. If you don't do it as the fucking company anyway. Do it if you want to be a fucking racist.
Fucking
don't
free time. Don't label the company as something like that. You know what I mean?
So fucking weird for I honestly kind of find it weird when companies just flat out have fucking ideals and shit. I don't fucking care if Arby's is pro or anti-abortion. I don't fucking care what their stance on anything is. I just want a roast beef sandwich. So Chick-fil-A, just shut your fucking mouth, and people will eat your goddamn
honestly,
food.
just retract all of your statements, and it'll be fine.
Don't be outspoken and be on the wrong side of history, you dumb motherfuckers.
Well, it's too late now.
It's
I'm
not
never
gonna work
eating
for you.
Chick-fil-A again. I'm going to miss it, but honestly, I could probably get better food somewhere else.
It's okay. We're getting a Slotchkis here.
Yeah,
so
that's all that matters.
That's all
to
that
me.
It's not fucking worth it. It's not fucking worth it.
Speaking about
Just don't
Slotchkis, no
support
one
anything.
understands.
Nobody understands around here, but then they will.
They will.
Tristan, as soon as they open, we need to go.
I'm literally
Is it a sandwich shop?
Yes, they're so good. They're
It's so
sourdough
hard.
bread sandwiches.
It's so hard to explain what a Slotchkis is because they're everywhere in Texas and
They stopped in Texarkana, but it seems that they're starting to branch out to Arkansas.
well,
Well,
the
hails
first
bales.
one was in Austin.
Yeah.
So I actually went to it.
Let's go.
The first one?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. I don't think I've...
And it
Wait,
had
did
this,
we ever go there when we were kids?
maybe.
I don't know.
But it has this huge light up sign that says Austin, Texas. And I was like, that's the most Texan thing I've ever seen.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Yep. Especially the Austin signs.
Keep
All right,
Austin
y'all.
weird.
Well, what do you say we get into this here content, huh?
Now that I'm, yep. Yep, now that I want to fucking cry.
Okay.
And we're going to be crying more, I guess.
Yep.
So,
here we go.
a little PSA here. This is very sensitive content we're going to be talking about. This will be dealing with assault of a child, torture and murder. It can be very, very rough to watch at times, or rough to it was rough to read about.
Yeah.
And
yeah, just a trigger warning.
yeah,
It has,
that's basically what I'm doing here.
Yeah,
It's
if
just letting
you're-
you know.
If you're too triggered about or if you get triggered about any of this, I would just recommend just skipping this episode.
Yeah, any form of abuse, it gets pretty graphic.
This is serious business here. This is Dangerous Dames Part 2. And This time on Dangerous Dames, I just want to cover one dame. You could also title this Villainous Vixens, or Bad Bitches, or Horrible Whores, or
Yeah.
Cunty Cunts.
Cunty cunts.
Because that's
Killer
exactly who
Killer
Gertrude.
cunts.
That's exactly who Gertrude Baniszewski is. Is just a massive fucking cunt.
She's
Sorry.
like, she's the definition of the word. Like, she's
Horrible,
literally the
horrible
worst
person.
ever.
Yeah.
Like, PJ, you're in for a ride. I've heard this story a couple times, and I get triggered every single time
Oh goodness
I
gracious!
All right,
think
well-
about it.
I think now is time to break in here. Other crimes have involved a greater number of victims, often including children, but the villains in those stories were hardened criminals or madmen, and their acts of violence played out rapidly, within the span of minutes or hours. In the aftermath of grief and anger, good people could at least comprehend the chain of events that had just unfolded. Now, on the surface, the Likens murder is not much different from any number of heinous crimes. It was a Cinderella story without a happy ending. A teenage girl left under the care of a strict authoritarian whose idea of discipline is physical abuse that escalates until the abuse victim dies. If that was the extent of it, this case would have likely been lost to history long ago, like so many other long-forgotten murders. This case was somehow more disturbing than other crimes, perhaps because, 1, the abuse was carried out not just by the caregiver, the notorious Gertrude Baniszewski, but also by her own children, some as young as 10, and by other children in the neighborhood. For weeks, even months, the torture of Sylvia Likens was casual entertainment, something to do in the afternoon before dinner and favorite TV shows.
Oh my god!
At least a dozen children participated or at least watched, and none felt sufficiently disturbed to tell their own parents.
Yeah.
2, other adults occasionally came to the Baniszewski house for various reasons and saw Sylvia's battered appearance. None pushed to be sure she was safe. Sylvia herself, 3, and her younger sister Jenny had opportunities to tell adults at school or church. They even had adult relatives living nearby. Neither said a word because, as Jenny would later explain, they thought it would only make things worse. Neither could conceive of the possibility that authorities would move to protect them, remove them from the house, or arrest their tormentors. Arrests did come, but only after it was over. On October 26th, 1965, Indianapolis police were called to 3850 East New York Street, where Sylvia's body lay on a mattress. Baniszewski told them that the girl had been attacked by a gang of boys, and she even produced a note written in Sylvia's own hand that seemed to confirm that story. But the cops could tell by the condition of the victim that this had been no single incident. Sylvia's body was malnourished and covered with sores, burns, and bruises, many of them old. She had been branded in one spot by a hot metal object, and the words, "I'm a prostitute and proud of it," had been etched onto her stomach.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I think it was like
Yeah.
one of the neighborhood boys that did it.
We are getting into that, yes.
Yeah.
Certainly one of the rougher aspects of this. Sylvia came from a large, poor family from southern Boone County, just northwest of Indianapolis. Her father, Lester Likens, had only an 8th grade education and worked a lot of different jobs to make a living. He'd had a laundry route, worked in factories, even owned a small restaurant, though unsuccessfully. He had also traveled with Carnival, selling food from a concession cart, and it was to this work to which he and his wife decided to return in the summer of 1965. All of these events take place over the course of like 4 months, over a summer. That meant finding someone to watch 4 of their children. The oldest, Diana, was grown and married. The 2 boys, Danny and Benny, were placed with their grandparents, and that left the girls, Sylvia and Jenny. Jenny was shy, insecure, and limped from childhood polio. Sylvia was outwardly more confident and went by the nickname Cookie. She was pretty, but always kept her mouth closed when she smiled because she had a missing front tooth that she lost at the age of 7. A mutual friend introduced the Likens to Gertrude Baniszewski. then briefly going by the name Gertrude Wright, who lived in a big rented house on the corner of East New York and Denny Street and was willing to look after Ginny and Sylvia for $20 a week. Gertrude was already caring for 7 of her own children. Paula, 17, John, 12, Stephanie, 15, Marie, 11, Shirley, 10, and James and Dennis were 18 months. The 6 oldest children all had the last name Baniszewski because their father was Gertrude's ex-husband, John Baniszewski. The youngest child, Dennis, had the last name of his father, Dennis Wright. Gertrude said he was in Germany serving in the army. From the beginning, there was a clash between Sylvia and Gertrude's 17-year-old daughter, Paula, and this was the seed of what grew in the house during the months of July through October 1965. Paula Baniszewski was, again, 17, and she immediately did not take to liking Sylvia Likens. And that was probably where a lot of the turmoil began. Then one day, the money order from Sylvia's parents didn't show up on the day Gertrude was expecting it. Jenny later testified Gertrude, quote, took us upstairs and she slapped me and said, well, I took care of you 2 bitches for a week for nothing. So she beat them for the parents not paying up on time. It arrived the next day, but still. Gertrude was frail and underweight, but she had 2 weapons she used for corporal punishment, a fraternity-style paddle and a thick leather belt left by her ex-husband John, an Indianapolis police officer. It was a cop belt, thick belt. Gertrude began using the paddle on Sylvia and Ginny for various offenses, such as exchanging soft drink bottles for change at a nearby grocery store. When she suspected Sylvia of stealing, she used matches to burn the girl's fingers. Sometimes Gertrude felt too weak from her asthma to discipline the girls, so 17-year-old Paula often helped. Neighborhood children began to crowd the home to participate in the torture. The children took turns practicing their judo on Sylvia, hurling her against walls. Some began kicking and beating her. Others extinguished their cigarettes on her skin as Gertrude and a gang of teenagers... This is hard. As Gertrude and a gang of teenagers watched, Sylvia was forced to undress in the living room and masturbate with an empty Coke glass bottle.
Yeah.
After the beatings, Sylvia was forced into a scalding hot bath so she would be cleansed of her sins. Quote. She was severely beaten and burned for wetting her mattress while asleep. She became incontinent, which means you can't hold your urine from all these beatings.
Yeah.
And she would be beaten for not being able to hold her urine, for becoming a bedwetter because of all the beatings. She was burned for wetting her mattress while asleep. Near the end, Sylvia was no longer permitted to leave the house. She was thrown down the cellar stairs and locked in, given crackers for food, and refused the right to use a bathroom. Gertrude Baniszewski announced to her children that Sylvia was a prostitute and she's proud of it, so we'll just put it on her stomach. She took a large needle and began to carve the words, I'm a prostitute and proud of it, with an exclamation point, into Sylvia's stomach. Richard Hobbs, a neighbor boy, finished the etching once she got tired. And now, her death. By the morning of October 26th, Likens was unable to either speak intelligibly or correctly coordinate the movement of her limbs. Gertrude did move Likens into the kitchen and, having propped her back against the wall, attempted to feed her a donut and a glass of milk, although she threw Likens to the floor in frustration when Likens was unable to move the glass of milk to her lips. She was then returned to the basement. Shortly thereafter, Likens became delirious, repeatedly moaning and mumbling. When Paula asked her to recite the English alphabet, Likens was unable to recite anything beyond the first 4 letters, or to raise herself off the ground. In response, Paula verbally threatened her to stand up, or she would herself inflict a long jump on her. Gertrude then ordered Likens, who had defecated, to clean herself. That afternoon, Several of Likens' other tormentors gathered in the basement. Likens jerkingly moved her arms in an apparent attempt to point at the faces of the tormentors she could recognize, making statements such as, "You're Ricky, you're Gertie," pointing at Gertrude, before Grisly tersely shouted, "Shut up, you know who I am." Minutes later, Likens unsuccessfully attempted to bite into a rotten pear she had been given to eat, stating she could feel the looseness in her teeth. Upon hearing this, Jenny replied, her sister, "Don't you remember, Sylvia? Your front tooth was knocked out when you were 7. Jenny then left Sylvia in the basement to perform gardening chores for neighbors in the hope of spending money. Like, again, sister not really coming to her sister's aid here. In an attempt to wash Likens, a laughing John Baniszewski Jr. sprayed her with a garden hose brought to the house that afternoon by Gertrude's request, spraying with a garden hose. Likens again desperately attempted to exit the basement, but collapsed before she could reach the stairs. In response to this effort, Gertrude stamped upon Likens' head before standing and staring at her for several moments. Shortly after 5:30 p.m., Richard Hobbs returned to the Baniszewski residence and immediately proceeded to the basement. He slipped on the wet basement stairs and fell heavily to the floor of the basement to be confronted with the sight of Stephanie crying and cuddling Likens' emaciated and lacerated body after she had been ordered by her mother to clean Sylvia. Stephanie and Richard then decided to give Likens a warm, soapy bath and dress her in new clothes. They then laid her upon a mattress in one of the bedrooms as Sylvia muttered her final wish that her, quote, daddy was here, and that Stephanie would take her home. Stephanie then turned to her younger sister, Shirley, exclaiming, "Oh, she'll be all right." When Stephanie realized that Likens was not breathing, she attempted to apply mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, as Gertrude repeatedly shouted to the children in the house that Likens was faking her death. She was 16 years old when she finally succumbed to her injuries.
Just straight chills, dude. Like, I don't even have any words.
And now we get on to the arrest. Just following right after that. Although Gertrude initially beat Sylvia's corpse with a book, shouting, "Faker, faker," to arouse her, she soon panicked and instructed Richard Hobbs to call the police from a nearby payphone. When police arrived at her address at approximately 6:30 p.m., Gertrude led the officers to Likens' emaciated, extensively bludgeoned, and mutilated body lying upon a soiled mattress in the bedroom. I've seen a picture of it. It is very, very hard to look at. Before handing them the letter, she had forced Likens to previously write to her dictation, also claiming she had been doctoring the child for an hour or more prior to her death, having applied rubbing alcohol to her wounds in a futile attempt at first aid before she had died. She added that Likens had earlier run away from her home with several teenage boys before returning to the house earlier that afternoon, bare-breasted and clutching the note. So she would just write a note saying, "All these boys beat me up."
Dude, she straight up just like like she basically just like called her a whore and like told her that, oh, well, she was always like running around with all these boys and was never home. And like I think the cops were actually called like the first time.
Yeah.
And like I think CPS showed up like asking where she was, and Gertrude straight up like
correct.
told them that she had ran away while she was literally suffering in the basement.
Their father had visited the house at one point, but he only saw the living room and once the kitchen.
Yeah.
He never inspected any other rooms. A social worker did show up, but like, okay, it was Diana, their older sister who was married, that had come to the house, and she kind of suspected something. She called social services over to the house,
Yeah.
and a social worker shows up. Gertrude just says, she ran away, and that was the end of it.
Yeah.
It didn't go any farther than that. So a lot of hands in this. There was literally so many fucking chances for something to be done, but never got done.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of controversy about like her sister not doing anything, but at the same time, she was living under the same roof as her, and she was crippled, so she was afraid that she was going to do the same thing to her. So it's not like her sister could have done anything either.
To this day, it maintains a phenomenon. Like, why didn't the sister fess up, say anything to any adult?
I can't even imagine that kind of fear, man.
Yeah.
It's so terrible.
But all the children who participated, I hope they're rotting in hell and or going to.
Well, we are going to discuss what happened to them. First, clutching a Bible, Paula Baniszewski, having stated to all present in the household that Likens' death was, quote, meant to happen, then glanced in Jenny's direction and calmly stated, "If you want to live with us, Jenny, we'll treat you like our own sister." After Sylvia had died, saying this was meant to happen, clutching a Bible.
Jesus.
So, but they were eventually brought to trial. The Baniszewski trial, May 1966. At her trial the following year, Baniszewski denied any knowledge of the torture, claiming the children must have done it all. She entered pleas of not guilty. Like, wow, thanks, Mom. She entered pleas of not guilty and not guilty by reason of insanity. On May 19th, 1966, a jury found Baniszewski guilty of first-degree murder, while Paula Baniszewski was found guilty of second-degree murder. Hobbs, the one that did the carving on her stomach, along with Baniszewski's son, John, and another neighborhood boy, Coy Hubbard, were convicted of manslaughter. Gertrude and Paula Baniszewski... Oh, fucking... stapled a blank page in there. Another one. Fucking dumbass.
What did you do? I was like wondering why there were so many pages in there.
I
You
just stapled blank pages in my packet. I'm a fucking retard. Gertrude and Paula were sentenced to life terms at Indiana Women's Prison in Indianapolis. The boys were sentenced to 2 to 21-year terms at the Indiana State Reformatory in Pendleton.
2 to 21.
Yeah, quite a range there. So, 50 years later, just kind of reiterate what happened to everyone, but also where they are now. It was called the most terrible crime ever committed in Indiana, and half a century later, that title still holds.
Yeah.
Many children were involved, some as young as 10, watched or joined in, none reported what they saw. A lot of people have compared this to Lord of the Flies, says attorney Natty Bumpo, a former Indianapolis Star reporter who covered the case. Quote, but that was just a bunch of uncontrolled children in Lord of the Flies. In this case, they had an adult supervising what they were doing. It wasn't children going wild, it was children doing what they were told.
Yeah. What's
even more mind-boggling is that the crime's perpetrators all eventually walked free, some after absurdly short prison sentences. Here's what happened to the tragedy's principal players. Gertrude, the vile villainess. Time served, 20 years. Originally found guilty of first-degree murder, Gertrude, or Gertie, as she was sometimes called, that's cute, was sentenced to life in prison, a judgment confirmed by a 1971 retrial. Okay, good. Retrial? No, still guilty. During her years at the Indiana Women's Prison, she was considered a model prisoner and earned the nickname of Mom. In spite of widespread public outcry, she was paroled in 1985. She moved to Iowa, changed her name to Nadine Van Fossen, died of lung cancer on June 16, 1990. So she lived a good 5 years after.
So karma. Got
free.
her.
Well, I mean, you could say that, but 5 years free, that's a decent amount of time.
That's too many years.
Too many years. She never took responsibility for her crimes, claiming she couldn't remember her actions. Bumpo says, I never thought she was insane. I thought she was a downtrodden, mean woman. That's an understatement. Paula Baniszewski, the daughter. Time served, 7 years. When Gertrude...
7?
7.
So fucked,
Principal
man.
key player in the beatings of this girl. When Gertrude, a sickly asthmatic, didn't feel up to disciplining Sylvia, she relied on her oldest child, Paula, to help out, which she did enthusiastically. She was 17 at the time, and it was rumored that she and Sylvia disliked each other from the start. In 1966, Paula was convicted of second-degree murder, but when her conviction was overturned in 71 on a technicality, she pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter rather than face a retrial. She got 2 to 21 years, but in spite of attempting a prison break, she was paroled in 72 and released completely in 74. She changed her name to Paula Pace and wasn't heard from again until 2012 when she was discovered living in a small Iowa hamlet of Marshalltown. Get this, working for the school system.
What the fuck, dude?
Oh my god.
Yeah. Pace.
Until 2012?
Yes.
Dude, that makes me so angry.
Yeah. Pace/Baniszewski, the mother of 2 grown sons, wasn't charged with any additional crimes, but was fired from her job for providing false information on her employee application. And I read an article about that. Teacher aide fired because she was found to be a convict in the grisly murder of a girl this many years ago. It was just kind of surreal to read about it in that context.
I'm surprised I haven't heard about it.
Our justice system literally fucking sucks.
Since then, she has once more slipped off the grid. So she is... good chance she's still out there.
Well, I hope she's suffering in her life.
I sure fucking hope so, too.
I hope she's suffering from the worst type of cancer, and it's slowly eating her alive.
That's all we can hope for.
I'm not going to recant that.
You shouldn't have
Ever.
to. Stephanie Baniszewski, time-served nun. The second oldest of the Baniszewski children, Stephanie, was 15 at the time of the crime. Though she admitted to participating in some degree in Sylvia's abuse, she was granted a special trial and all charges were dropped, likely because she agreed to turn state's evidence against her family. She has reportedly changed her name, married, had children, worked as a teacher, and now lives in Florida. So,
what the fuck?
another key player turning to and working with children. John Baniszewski, the third oldest of the Baniszewski children and an active participant in Sylvia's torture. John was 12 when she died. Convicted of manslaughter, he became the Indiana State Reformatory's youngest inmate, serving just 2 years before being released. He changed his name to John Blake and drifted aimlessly before experiencing a religious epiphany that, he said, helped him see the error of his ways.
Oh, so, religion helped him, but, he didn't have a moral compass before that? Cool.
It takes religion for you to actually get a moral compass.
I hate that people do that. That's honestly one of the most triggering things ever. They're like, oh, I murdered and killed a bunch of children or raped a bunch of children, but I'm going to turn to God so that I can forgive myself.
They're
same thing kind of happens with a lot of meth addicts. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of hardcore meth heads are hardcore Christians.
I feel
because they believe that God can forgive anything.
I feel like it's with drugs it's different because at least they're not doing the drugs anymore. But you still fucking murdered someone.
Yeah.
Fucking people like that are all like, if you don't have a Christian moral code, then what stops you from raping and murdering everybody you see? And then I'm like, I have raped and murdered everyone I've wanted to rape and murder.
Yeah.
Which is none, because I'm not a fucking psychopath.
Yeah, it comes down to psychology.
I have morals because I'm a good person, not because a book tells me to. Anyways.
Yeah.
But good for him, I guess. Allegedly, the only member of the Baniszewski clan to show public remorse for his deeds, he has made no attempt to hide his past and even spoke about it publicly on occasion. Reportedly a lay minister and real estate agent with a wife and 3 children, he died of cancer in 2005 at age 52. In a masterpiece of understatement, he once told a reporter that, quote, my mom was a very selfish, self-centered woman.
Oh, okay.
Nice observation there, Chief.
Right. That's...
What had you draw that conclusion, eh? Marie Baniszewski, 4th oldest. She was 11 when the torture took place. No charges were brought. She testified during the trial, becoming the sole member of the Baniszewski family to cry on the stand during questioning. She still lived in Indiana. Shirley Baniszewski, time served none. Fifth oldest, she was the youngest to actively participate. Although the 10-year-old heated a needle that was used to burn the victim, she was never charged with any crime. Her whereabouts today are unknown. James Baniszewski, time served none. Because he was only 8 at the time, James was not arrested nor called to testify, although some reports suggested he played a role in the crime. Of all the Baniszewski offspring, the least is known about him. Dennis Lee Wright Jr., not culpable, he was an infant. He was a newborn when Sylvia met her fate. The son of Gertrude's lover, Dennis Lee Wright Sr., who abandoned the family shortly after his namesake's birth. Supposedly, he was placed in foster care and was later adopted by the White family, who changed his name to Denny Lee White. He died in 2012 in California. Coy Hubbard, time served 2 years. A neighborhood kid and Stephanie Baniszewski's boyfriend. Hubbard was a full participant in Sylvia's torture.
Yeah.
His contributions included using her as a practice dummy for judo flips and punches and shoving her down the basement stairs. Convicted of manslaughter, he served only 2 years before being released. His attorney, Forrest Bowman Jr., remembers running into him in the early 1970s after the trial when he stopped at a near downtown gas station where Hubbard happened to work. He said, quote, "He was very effusive and said, 'Come inside. I want to introduce you to my boss,'" Bowman recalls. "I said, 'Sure.' That was the last contact I had with him." So last time he ever saw him was in the early 70s. Oddly, Hubbard never changed his name and reportedly remained in the Indianapolis area most of his adult life. He was tried for another murder in 1982, but acquitted. So, complete asshole overall.
What the fuck?
He also reportedly lost his job in 2007 when the movie An American Crime about the Sylvia Likens case debuted. He died in June of that year in Shelbyville. Richard Hobbs, time served 2 years. Another neighborhood kid who tortured Sylvia. Hobbs performed the infamous act of helping to carve the words, "I'm a prostitute and proud of it," into her stomach with a large needle. The macabre task was begun by Gertrude, but when she became too fatigued to finish, Hobbs stepped in. So, like, the ones doing the torturing get tired and they tag out. It's fucking just so insane. Convicted of manslaughter, she served a short sentence and died of cancer in 1972 at the age of 21. So he died pretty early, which is good. The world needs less of people like that.
Yeah.
Lester C. Likens, the father. What happened to him? What happened to him? What happened to him?
You're a man.
I'm a man.
Yeah, you're a douche, remember?
I'm a douche. Subs. Sylvia's father was a carnival worker who decided to leave his kids with a third party while he and his wife Betty were on the road. His only crime was that he didn't vet the Baniszewski home more thoroughly before leaving 2 of his daughters in Gertrude's custody. He, quote, "We," meaning he and Gertrude, "got to talking and she said she would take care of the children and treat them like her own," end quote. He recalled at the trial. Lester apparently believed her because during several subsequent trips to the house, the last on October 5th, just weeks before his daughter's death, he noticed nothing out of order. Not that there was much to see, considering the only portions of the Baniszewski abode he ever entered were the living room and once the kitchen. He reportedly died in February 2013 at the age of 86 in Fontana, California.
He lived too long. He basically just abandoned
Yeah.
his children.
Guilt through inaction, you could say.
Yeah.
Betty Likens, visibly devastated, Sylvia's mother gave only short responses on the witness stand at the trial. She divorced Lester in 1967, remarried, and died on May 29th, 1998, my birthday. Except I was born in 1997, so shout out to... All right, never mind. At age 71. She was buried in Crown Hill...
Shout out to her death.
Shout out to... Yeah, no, okay, I felt wrong saying it.
Yeah,
she was
let's
buried in
not.
Crown Hill Cemetery, where she shares a headstone with her brother. Diana Likens. In the midst of the ordeal, Sylvia's sister Jenny, who was also boarded at the Baniszewskis, reportedly called their older sister Diana for help. Believing that the girls were simply grumbling, Diana initially ignored the plea, but her suspicions were raised when Gertrude wouldn't let her in the house for a visit. She then spotted Jenny, who said she wasn't allowed to talk to her and ran away. Diana contacted social services, but when a worker showed up at the Baniszewski residence, Jenny told her, on threat of punishment from Gertrude, that Sylvia had run away. No further action was taken. Diana made headlines recently when she and her husband, Cecil, this is like kind of a derail, just like another thing happened to them. When her husband, both diabetics, got lost in the California backcountry and were stranded in their car for 2 weeks with nothing to sustain them but rainwater, a pie, and some oranges.
What the fuck?
Her husband didn't survive the ordeal, dying of a heart attack after the first week. Diana, near death, was discovered and rescued by off-roaders.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's
So,
crazy.
what a life, huh?
Yeah.
Jesus. And that happened recently, as of the time of this article that I'm reading, which was in 2015, so pretty recently. Now, Jenny Likens, the sister. Perhaps because she was crippled by polio, Jenny didn't suffer nearly as much abuse as her sister Sylvia did. From the beginning, she had opportunities to tell neighbors what was going on, but she didn't because she feared she would make things worse. Indeed, one of the enduring mysteries of the case is why neither she nor Sylvia sought help before things escalated. I speculate that there was never any experience in Sylvia's life, up to the time she went into Gertie's house, when she learned that people would come to her aid, says Bowman. So she didn't know, like, she wasn't used to anybody helping her in the first place.
Yeah.
Said Bowman, Hubbard's attorney. She wasn't conditioned to believe that anyone would help her. Sylvia finally succumbed to her injuries after months of torture. Hobbs, the neighborhood kid, contacted the police to report the death. When the police arrived to collect her sister's body, Jenny reportedly told them, "You get me out of here, and I'll tell you everything." A Beech Grove resident, she died in 2004 at the age of 54. All right. So, to round off the show, I'm going to discuss a little bit the science of herd mentality. Where does that idea come from? Some of the psychology of it. Why these kids were able to do these horrible, grotesque acts to this girl. Because it defies all logic how people could be so cruel. Children, even. The science of herd mentality. It may seem that we are in control of our thoughts and behavior, but social psychology tells a different story. Social psychology is defined as the scientific study of how we think about, influence, and relate to one another. We are social beings. Most of us communicate with others every day, spending large portions of our waking hours in some form of communication. One lesson from social psychology is the influence that others have on us. Research shows we do not have as much control over our thoughts and behavior as we think. We take cues from our environment, especially other people, on how to act. Now, how do groups influence us? Consider the concept of group polarization. The idea is that like-minded people in a group reinforce one another's viewpoints. So if you are in an echo chamber of ideas, if you only surround yourself with people that spout your creeds and beliefs, then that will just reinforce how you feel.
Yeah.
Group polarization strengthens the opinions of each person in the group. In a study by French psychologists Sergei Moscovici and Marissa Zalavoni, researchers asked participants some questions. First, researchers asked about their opinion towards the French president. Second, they asked about their attitude towards Americans. The researchers then asked the participants to discuss each topic as a group. After a discussion, groups who held a tentative consensus became more extreme in their opinions. For example, participants held slightly favorable attitudes towards the French president, but their attitudes magnified as group members spoke with one another. They held slightly negative attitudes towards Americans, those fucking scummy Americans. But their attitudes intensified as each member learned others shared their views about their allies abroad. The researchers concluded that group consensus seems to induce a change of attitudes in which subjects are likely to adopt more extreme positions. When we see our uncertain opinions reflected back to us, our beliefs strengthen. It makes logical sense.
Yeah.
Many of us also enjoy being with others who share similar beliefs. In one experiment, researchers invited people to discuss issues including same-sex marriage, affirmative action, and climate change. People in one group came from predominantly liberal Boulder, Colorado. People in another group came from mostly conservative Colorado Springs. The discussions on controversial topics led to increased agreement within the groups. Beliefs we hold are strengthened when we are around others who hold similar views. If other people do it, that means it's right, right? There is a heuristic most of us use to determine what to do, think, say, and buy, the principle of social proof. Now, just to define a heuristic, it is just a mental shortcut in your head to reach a conclusion to help you make a decision. So basically, like an example of a heuristic is you not logically thinking about why you should buy a book. You just simply buy the book because the cover looks nice and because it says bestseller on it. You buy the book from those two factors. It's a mental shortcut. You think less, so you think less about more mundane things. You give them less thought so that you subconsciously get to think about the things that you care about more. So like things that you care less about, you just give less thought. Literally, this is what that means.
Yeah.
A heuristic. And one example of a heuristic is the principle of social proof. To learn what is correct, we look at what other people are doing. In his best-selling book, Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion, psychologist Robert Cialdini writes, whether the question is what to do with an empty popcorn box in a movie theater, how fast to drive on a certain stretch of highway, or how to eat chicken at a dinner party, the actions of those around us will be important in defining the answer. Social proof is a shortcut to decide how to act. Cialdini has used the principle of social proof to prevent environmental theft. Consider the case of Arizona's Petrified Forest National Park. Visitors would arrive at the park and learn of past thievery from prominent signs. Now, this is honestly kind of funny. The signs would say, your heritage is being vandalized every day by theft losses of petrified wood of 14 tons a year.
What?
Mostly a small piece at a time. Get this. In one experiment, Cialdini removed the sign from a specific path in the park to measure any differences it might make. The path with no sign had 1/3 less theft than the path with the sign. Visitors interpreted the sign's message as permission. Put differently, visitors thought it was normal to take small pieces of wood because so many other people did it. So because so much has been stolen, why not just take a little bit more, right?
Oh
According to this sign. So they used it as like justification.
Oh my God.
So when you take away the sign,
Yeah.
you're like saying, don't fucking do this. It's bad. People always do this. People did it less. I think that is just so great.
Yeah.
With the sign there that said that they wait.
Your past is being vandalized. With the sign there, it had more theft. Take the sign away, 1/3 less theft.
Which is why if we legalize drugs and regulate them,
Exactly. People will probably do them less
Yeah.
if they're
that
legal.
would be less crime.
Yeah.
That would be
And
a
there
smaller
literally
crime
will be
rate,
less crime because there'd be less things to punish.
Like,
which is a
honestly,
big problem and why they want to take away guns.
Yeah, it just comes down to herd mentality and just like you can literally control people more with more freedom than you can. It comes
That's a
down
good way to put it.
it comes down to like telling someone not to do something
Makes
they're-
them want to do it.
yeah, they're gonna do it more.
Yeah, exactly.
Like-
We're like, well, I can't do this. So
Because-
I'm
because
gonna
adults-
do it anyways because you told me
Adults
not
really
to.
are just children.
Yeah.
Tell a fucking child, don't do this. It's going to make them, like, don't watch that movie. Like,
They're
ooh,
gonna do
No,
it.
I have to watch that movie.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're like, but why did they say that?
Just
You
like, don't
know?
even tell them about the movie. Just say, yeah, that movie's awesome, and they'll be less interested in it.
It's like that don't do drugs kids like dare thing.
Oh my god.
Dare was a massive, statistically, just failure.
We have all done drugs.
We grew up on Dare, and we do drugs.
We
No.
do.
No, okay.
Allegedly.
We allegedly do
Allegedly.
drugs.
But yeah.
Okay. Researchers have also used the principle of social proof to help people overcome their fears. In one study, Albert Bandula and his colleagues worked with a group of young children frightened of dogs. The children watched a 4-year-old boy happily play with a dog for 20 minutes a day for 4 days. After the 4-day period, 67% of the children who watched the boy play with the dog were willing to enter a playpen with the dog. When the researchers conducted a follow-up study 1 month later, they found the same children were willing to play with the dog. So their opinions didn't change. It was kind of like they got influenced, and then it maintained that way. Watching a little boy have fun with a dog reduced fear in children. They used the behavior of a boy playing with a dog as a model to change their own behavior. So, like, the flip side of that would be have children watch a dog maul another child, and they probably will become afraid.
Well,
Yeah.
As anyone probably
I
would.
would too.
It's like, yeah, okay.
It's like someone offering you a drink, and you're like, well, you drink it first. And then you...
Yeah.
And then if they do drink it, then you can drink the drink. Like,
There you go.
it's the same thing.
Why do others influence us so goddamn much? Clearly, others affect our behavior. One reason for this is that we live in a complex world. We use the decisions of others as a heuristic or mental shortcut to navigate our lives. English philosopher and mathematician Alfred North Whitehead once said, he's got a white-ass head, once said,
No. No.
What?
Shut up.
Civilization advances by extending the number of operations we can perform without thinking about them. In his book Influence, Cialdini uses the example of advertisers informing us that a product is, quote, fastest growing or best selling. Advertisers don't have to persuade us that a product is good. They only need others to think so.
Did you just casually throw in an Italian accent?
Cialdini. Yes, I did.
And they kept going.
We love that.
Stop.
Advertisers don't need to tell you a product is good. They just need to say others think it's good.
Yeah.
Cialdini notes that customers often use a simple heuristic, consumers use a simple heuristic, popular is good. Following the crowd allows us to function in a complicated environment. Most of us don't have time to increase our knowledge of all merchandise and research every advertised item to measure its usefulness. We just don't want to bother. Instead, we rely on signals like popularity. If everyone else is buying something, the reasoning goes, there's a good chance the item is worth our attention. A second reason others influence us is that humans are social. We have survived because of our ability to band together. Early humans who formed groups were more likely to survive. This affected our psychology. As Julia Coltas, a researcher at the University of Essex, puts it, for an individual joining a group, copying the behavior of the majority would then be a sensible adaptive behavior. A conformist tendency would facilitate acceptance into the group and would probably lead to survival if it involved the decision, for instance, to choose between a nutritious or poisonous food based on copying the behavior of the majority, just like Misty said. In our evolutionary past, our ancestors were under constant threat. Keen awareness of others helped our ancestors survive in a dangerous and uncertain world. Modern humans have inherited such adaptive behaviors. These behaviors include banding together, promoting social harmony. This includes not dissenting from the group. In a hunter-gatherer group, being ostracized or banished could have been a death sentence. Thoughtful reflection on social influence may lead us to a greater awareness of ourselves and our relationship with others. Now, how that relates to the children of torture and murder of Sylvia Likens, basically, they see an adult doing it, they see the other kids doing it, I might as well doing it.
Yeah.
No one stepped up because no one else stepped up.
Well, they were also children.
No one wanted
so
to do it
that's-
first.
That's all they knew, too.
Yes, Gertrude set the example, and the children followed.
Yeah.
That is not to say that they are without blame.
Yeah.
That they are blameless. Because
They
that
are
is
definitely at fault.
they are absolutely at fault here.
But it's just like you can't teach a puppy to not do something when that's all they've known, you know? Like you can't make a dog not aggressive when they've grown up in an aggressive environment, you know?
I think so.
It's kind of like the same thing.
Yeah. What do you think, PJ?
About what in particular?
About herd mentality.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, the like kind of about like the part that you were talking about with like the advertisements and stuff like that, and like a lot of people or a lot of companies will get like extremely famous people to like be the head of their or the face of their campaign, so everybody is like, heck yeah, I'm gonna buy that because this person's using it. Or like the toilet paper commercials, how they always have a comparison, but they never say like, oh, it's better than this specific brand. They're just said, oh, it's better than the leading brand. Like the Charmin commercials, you put a little droplet in the coin.
They
on
always
there.
say compared to leading brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like they like yeah, it's like a shortcut in your brain. It's like, oh, they're doing it, so it's okay for me to.
Yeah.
Exactly. Simple heuristic. So just be wary of those. Ask yourself, well, why do I want this product over the other one? And just try to see how that influences your decisions. And just that knowledge will inherently help you make better decisions.
Yeah.
Just being more wary of how you're making them. All right. I think that is a good place to end it. Very emotional type of episode.
Yeah, I was holding back tears there for a sec.
I
Me
did
too.
cry.
I
Pretty
know, I
hardcore.
saw you.
Pretty absolutely just
I mean, this is the
gory
first
and
time that
macabre
I've
and-
heard any of this information. So
I just like felt numb the whole time and had to disassociate for a little bit.
A lot of that stuff was really hard to get out. not
I
gonna lie.
literally like we had to take like a 10-minute break because I was just like, I have to make some coffee. I have to, you know,
Just feel
Relax.
a
just
different
feel
way.
better. Like, because
Yeah.
there was a lot of information being, you know, thrown at
It's
me.
just-
I'll try to make sure the next Dangerous Dames isn't as, hard to listen to.
I mean, I feel like the more attention we give to even the most horrific crimes, like the more awareness that there is, like yes, it sucks to talk about it, but I feel like it's,
Please don't get hair
it's
in my coffee.
I feel like it's educational.
Oh, yeah, it's
Still,
important to know. It's important to talk
yeah,
about.
it's important to put that out there, even though it's painful.
Yeah.